Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related, and congratulations are in order. And it takes everybody. Once again, I'm happy to report.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy about it. They like who's in office. They like what's going on. So this is going to be good news. Nothing but good news. That's all you get here. Illinois and Chicago have both retained their titles in 2024.
As?
Illinois with the highest state and local combined tax burden in the country, and Chicago as the murder capital of the country. On the state and local tax burden, 13,000 plus in taxes. Illinois households earning a median income of $79,000 will face the highest taxes in the nation. The taxes will be $4,400 and change higher than the national average, or nearly 52% higher than the national average. Right, but we're doing 52% better.
Yeah, that's what Brandon Johnson would say. And I thought
well.
Brandon Johnson was just at the Capitol saying that Chicago's a safe city now, that homicides are down, crime is down under his watch.
Chicago had 579 homicides in 2024, or 573. Yeah, 573.
Yeah, it is.
Which is about one per 20. About 21 and a half per 100,000 residents. By comparison, New York had 4.6 homicides per 100,000 residents. So Chicago 5x the murder rate of New York, and just on the subways alone, New York doesn't strike me as the safest place in the country either. Other big cities with top the list in terms of like the top 10, but Chicago far and away the most in aggregate, and the 13th in per capita. St. Louis has the highest per capita murder rate in the country, more than twice that of Chicago's at 52 murders per 100,000 residents. And what do all these cities that top and states that top these respective lists have in common? They're all governed by people like Jelly Belly and Brandon Johnson, BLM Brandon. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Ted Dabrowski now. Ted, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. And it's great to talk about, us being number one again.
Number one with a bullet, literally.
Yeah, it's really sad. These politicians we have keep trying to say that things are better here, that we're doing well, balanced budgets, things are better for Illinoisans, it's safer streets, but it's just not true. And, they repeat it, they get parroted by most of the media. But the facts on the ground, and when you look at them, it's a sad situation for us, and that's why we keep highlighting it at Wirepoints until we're going to scream it from the mountaintops until eventually something matters to Illinoisans and they change things.
Well, the other piece of this too, this was a study by Wallet Hub in terms of combined state and local tax burden, something that's been talked about for a long time, and the real kicker that ensures Illinois maintains its highest state and local tax burden designation is property taxes, which we can't seem to get anybody motivated about it either. And that obviously has much wider distribution of pain than does violent crime, which is concentrated in Chicago and some other mid-sized metropolitan areas.
Yeah, I've been traveling around a bit. I was in Decatur the other day. I was in Mattoon as well, and you hear about the stories all the time that this property taxes has a big impact on on housing, of course, your home values, and people can't help but see how much cheaper Indiana is and other states across the country. How much cheaper it is to own a home, to buy. Well, it's expensive to buy a home now because things have gone up so much. But it's these taxes are a huge tax and burden on people, and it hasn't gone away. It's actually gotten worse. They're talking about increasing pension benefits now for these second-tier pensioners. That'll go straight to property taxes. So the problem hasn't gone away.
What about everybody wants a Doge, an Illinois version of Doge? Do you think that will come to Chicago and to Illinois?
Well, it's never going to come under these guys, right? I mean, these guys are the opposite of Doge. Pritzker, Johnson, they're anti-Doge, right? They want to spend more and more. And if you just look at Pritzker's budgets, right, they're massively higher. They're massively higher than they used to be when Pritzker took over, and his projections are to go massively higher again. So it's kind of funny we talk about property taxes in the same breath as that, because more government spending is more taxes. And of course Johnson wants to keep borrowing money because he can't seem to find it anywhere. So those are all negative things. So we urgently need a Doge. And I tell you, this whole like we've talked about the wringing hands over Doge and at the federal level and how painful it is and all that. I mean, it's what you need here badly, because we can't find a way to stop or the legislature.
Yeah, I misspoke with that question. I meant to say, do you think Trump and the federal officials will come into Illinois and help us, say, with education and with the economy and with crime?
I'd like for Trump to do whatever he's supposed to do at the federal level to help us. I don't want the federal government to come tell Illinois what to do on things that Illinois should be doing. It's we don't need a bailout in that sense, but
no, quite the opposite. They should pull back federal funds, which is exactly what they're talking about doing to places like sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, which is why Pam Bondi filed suit against the state of Illinois. And that's exactly what they should do. They should back up what they said by punishing states that, punish their residents. You want to punish your residents, that's fine. And your residents want to support that, that's fine. But what we do at the federal level is put our scarce resources to its highest best use. And Illinois doesn't seem interested in that. At the university level, too, like pulling $400 million in grants to Columbia. I mean, all that stuff. There should be all of this caterwauling from the political class here, and and frankly, the apathy from the larger electorate. You know what that should be? That should be like a red cape being waved in front of the Trump administration.
Yeah, I mean, some people try to say, Trump should come and do take over our schools and all that. Hell no. I mean, I think you've got it right, Dan. We've got to pay the price. It's what we vote for, and we're 50 laboratories in this country, and if we don't do it well, people can move. But what we don't want to do is have a federal government impose on us things. They can cut the federal funding, like Dan says. That's correct, because why should they fund failure?
And why should and choices that we make? We talked about it last week. Expanding Medicaid. You want to expand Medicaid, make it a middle income entitlement program. You want to put hundreds of thousands of people in this country illegally residing in your state on the Medicaid rolls. That's fine, but you pay for it.
You pay for it.
We'll continue to pick up our percentage of the Medicaid program at the federal level, consistent with the prescriptions of the program. Anything you want to do that exceeds those parameters set by statute of the program, well, you pay for it.
Well, yeah, that's the whole ACA expansion, the whole Medicaid expansion was crazy, because the government said they pay for 100% and then 90%. So effectively, the federal government was funding all kinds of just added people to the Medicaid rolls. Well, Trump is right to roll that back, and if Pritzker wants to keep paying for it, he'd have to charge Illinois for it. But we'll see where all that ends up. But the Doge impact is massive, and it has to happen, because it has to happen at the federal level. And of course, one day it will happen here, one way or the other, whether it's imposed by the markets, whether it's imposed by people leaving the state, or whether we finally get new leadership that imposes it. But we're going to need a Doge here. It's just got to be done the right way.
And the Department of Education can also strip out any funding it's providing to K through 12 government school systems, not just the universities, K through 12 government school systems that are still DEI and gender identity addled, like your local school district that you wrote about on Wirepoints there in Wilmette.
Well, yeah, local twice, right? Northwestern, of course. Northwestern just got warned as well. Just like you said, mentioned Columbia. losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Northwestern's being warned as well, and then right 1 block away from me, or 3 blocks away from me, I should say, is my local school, and they're reading books that are just ultra extreme in terms of transgenderism to 4th graders, to 10-year-olds. They're telling 10-year-olds, your gender can change day to day, year to year. You might be a boy, you might be a girl, you might be both, you might be neither. And that's, I mean, I don't care what your views are on transgenderism. I think we should agree that it doesn't belong in the public schools, and it shouldn't be funded by public dollars.
Wilmette Central School.
I mean, especially for 10-year-olds in particular.
Yeah, Wilmette Central School is what you write about, and the book called "It Feels Good to Be Yourself," and then it talks about this Ruthie, who at 5 years old determined that she was a he. Her younger brother was 3.5 when he announced he was a he, and so on and so forth. I mean, this is, was this written by Charlize Theron?
Well, are we supposed to be stopping this? I mean, didn't Trump sign an executive order so that we can't have this kind of smut in our schools?
Well, those are precisely the questions, because, I just saw yesterday in the New Sun-Times that, the new Cook County recorder, I forget which role she has, she's leaning in and saying, no, I'm announcing a new DEI clerk, and everything the clerk's office will be done rooted in equity. So, there's people leaning into it. And the schools in Illinois haven't said they're going to back off yet, so we're going to have to see where Trump's orders kick in and how they enforce that. But you can expect massive pushback here in Illinois, and they're not going to roll over here.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't they continue on? They haven't been punished politically, and they will continue until they're punished politically.
Exactly.
So we'll see. Also, too, I mean, this is going around. The new Marxist party that controls everything in Illinois and Chicago is going back to the well with, their entire wish list built up over generations, including making homeschooling families register with the local school district. That's back on the table in Springfield. And then this one, too. This is really sort of interesting why you would be interested to do this. Senator Kim Lightford has introduced legislation that would reduce the distance from which a convicted sex offender needs to maintain to a school building. So in other words,
also eliminate weekly check-ins.
So right now, you're a sex offender. You can't reside within 500 feet of a school building, and she has introduced legislation to make that only 250 feet. Now, I don't know what the magic is between 500 and 250 feet, but I don't know why anybody would take this up and get in the business of trying to allow sex offenders to be closer to schools, for example.
I mean, this is the problem. I was reading what Breakthrough Ideas put out on some of the bills being considered, and this is why we need a Doge, because we should flip the discussion from all these silly things, small things, and dangerous things, by the way, right? If you're bringing sex offenders closer to schools, but they spend all their time on laws that I can't believe that's what they sit there and do. I mean, I can believe it, but that's what they do. Absurd laws that don't help the the 80-20, right? Like we just talked about, property taxes and crime and all that, and better schools. Instead, it's all this weird stuff. That's what they have time for, and it's and we pay a lot of money to them too, right? We pay the fifth highest salaries, and they get these big pensions. Most of these lawmakers should be just fired, and we should start over. But that's a tough task.
Well, I mean, it's on their agenda to make Illinois more sex offender friendly. So okay. Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, I just want to bring up one other point that should become interesting. And, we got to watch what these markets do as the correction goes on. But Chicago is starting to get more and more. I'm hearing more and more about the risks, financially. As the stock market goes down, you have to start thinking about Chicago pensions.
Mm-hmm.
The talk of bankruptcy, especially with the Trump administration. People willing to talk about those kind of things. So watch that. Bankruptcy discussion as things heat up, especially in the financial market.
Yeah, but bankruptcy requires approval from Springfield, and you're not going to get approval from Springfield because that would be a admission of fault by the governor, by legislators, by the mayor. Nobody wants to be the person who presides over a city or state's bankruptcy.
No, you're absolutely right. I think the whole point will be pressure from outside for bankruptcy and people talking about why isn't Chicago going bankrupt and things like that. So, these guys will never pursue it, and they'll do everything they can to protect it and find all kinds of ways to wiggle out and borrow money. But I've seen this. This part of my professional life before I started doing this stuff was financial markets and bond markets, and at some point the market doesn't like you, and they punish the hell out of you. It's hard to do in a state versus a country, but we're headed that way, I think, in Chicago.
Ted Dabrowski, President of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to